whatever the $8 or $9 of the envelopes,
well,
and
it adds up over time.
Well, yeah, and talk about getting a ferment off quickly. That starts going right 2 hours later, it's bubbling like crazy.
Yeah, I've done several, a lot of cases where I've done second runs off the same batch of yeast, where I take the fruit bag out, dump it in another bucket, and then dump the lees over it after I've racked the good stuff off from the first batch, and just add honey, add water, add nutrients, and go again. But I think I did a third run once, but I haven't actually tasted that batch, so I have no idea how it came out.
How'd the first two come out?
I've done second runs quite successfully.
Cool.
Yeah, I do it quite regularly because I'm cheap, and a lot of times the fruit that I'm using, it's a small batch because whatever it is, it's hard to process or hard to get or expensive. And one of the things I was doing when I was sort of bouncing between winemaking and mead making was I'd make a wine for the first batch and then use the fruit bag again and try it as a mead to see how honey went along with the flavor of the fruit without drowning it out with the fruit.
Well, it makes sense. Billy, can you reuse yeast in a winery or meadery or however it is that you're going to be classified legally? Is that possible?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
I know breweries can do it, but I didn't know if wineries could do it or not.
Yeah, I mean it's the same ingredients. You're just whether you're getting it from the lab or getting it from a previous batch. I guess I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't imagine there'd be an issue. And it's good to hear that you guys are doing it with success. I guess I've always just been too scared to do a batch where the yeast could be a little worn out. And but if I can get a second run, I mean, even from at a commercial level, that's saving a lot of money. So that's probably something I'll test.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Where it's $8-9 for us, it's like 80 or 90 or even hundreds, depending on how much your yeast is. I mean, that could save you considerable money.
Yeah, I'd probably be afraid to do it on a commercial level, but hey, next time you make a 5-gallon batch, just go ahead. Why not?
Either that or just do sequential 1 gallons and see how far you can go before, and then you've got a whole bunch of 1 gallons to try tasting with.
There you go.
Yeah. See, more experiments to add to the list.
My thought on why you don't tend to do it with wine and why you do often do it with beer, I think, is probably because the yeast is likely under more stress in a wine situation than in a beer situation because of the higher ABV.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's what I figure.
That was always my hesitancy to do it. Was I know it's common in beer, but you're also getting to 6%, and the yeast have all the nutrients they needed in the wort. So they were happy. They get to the end, they're just asleep. They're not totally run through. A little different for mead, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's really not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be pretty cool if it wasn't. I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of the cost saving. That's a pretty neat thing. We've been apparently stacking up questions for you. I'm going to focus you in after the questions, and we're going to start talking about how to make those 6-month young meads that win medals. So, but apparently everybody heard you were going to be on, and we're getting questions coming in. So, yeah, you're a popular guy, Billy.
Yeah.
The first question we have is from Joel Robinson here in Australia, who's setting up his own meadery currently, and is working with the brewery also. And his first question was, what was the pivotal point in your mead making? Was it the ale experiment that ramped it up, or what really kicked you off there?
Tell him to fly me out to Oz, and I'll tell him in person.
Hey, Joel,
No,
come to the Mazer Cup and buy him some mead.
It's that long a story, is it?
No, I just really want to go to Australia.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Vicky and Manny have both promised to come, so we might as well hire a bus at this rate.
And Hamish pressures us mercilessly. It's kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like they're. I've been following Joel for a while. Sounds like they're doing some good stuff down there.
Yeah.
The pivotal point was actually, you know what it was? Probably my first medal, and it was a third place medal at a local, like it was the San Diego County Fair. I was still really early on in my mead making, and just like submitted it to see what they thought. And it won, and I don't know, there was something about it, like, man, I got to go up in front of all the quaff people, a lot of whom I looked up to in terms of home brewers, and it just kind of sparked that interest in me, like, I should keep doing this and see if I can get better at it. And it's just funny because I look back, and the mead was probably awful. I'm sure there just wasn't that many people that entered, but it was the point I look back and thought, okay, I want to get more into this and focus in a little more and see if I can, get more of these.
That's pretty. You're doing some interesting stuff. I've been kind of, you talk about it a little bit on Facebook sometimes, so I've just been kind of, watching. Joel, more questions via Hamish, I guess?
Yeah, he did have another one. He wanted to know what your concerns were. As he's working with a brewery himself. He said, what concerns do you have regarding sharing a space with a brewery, and how do you determine sort of what amount of space you require, and what equipment will you be sharing, e.g. chillers, fermenters, etc., from the brewery?
Okay. Yeah, this is a great question, and don't know if I mentioned it. We're going to be sharing a space with a cidery that's about to open. So we're doing an alternating proprietorship, which I think is what Joel's referring to in our case. And so we'll have a pretty big space that we split right down the middle for production. So the production area, we're doing half and half. And all of the tanks will be separate. We are going to share a filter. We are getting a cross flow, and
nice.
Those puppies aren't. Yeah, they're not cheap, so we're definitely going to be sharing the cost on that. But
that's nice.
And you only use that not that often, so there's no reason not to share that. But all the tanks, everything will be totally separate, and storage too. The TTB is going to require us to store all our products separately, even if it's just a line drawn down the middle. So we're splitting.
What about your glycol system?
Oh, okay. So glycol, will just have one glycol system for the entire space.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll be sharing that too. That's a good point. And that's the one thing we haven't got yet, and I think I know where we're going to get it from. I went up and met with the Vintner Vault guys up in Paso Robles, and anyways, so yeah, we'll share that. And then the tasting room area, we're going to co-brand, and so we'll share the cold box, although it will kind of be split between half and half. And so there's the bar in front of the cold box, and it's kind of an L-shaped bar. And their brand will have one half, and ours will have the other. And then the rest of the tasting room is just, kind of open tasting room. It won't really be branded. But as a marketing person, it's really important to me that that it's it feels like a space with two separate brands, and you can share the experience with both. I mean, you can go get a flight of cider and then a flight of mead, but we're not one company, and that's important, for your brand identity and for making sure people associate your product with you and your story and everything. So that part will be tricky. It's definitely doable. I'm pretty focused on it, so I'm not too worried. But you do have to go in kind of consciously, like, okay, think about it from the customer. They walk in. How do you ensure that they know where to go if they want mead, where to go if they want cider, what company is doing what. So there's a lot of things just to consider there. And then storage and office, we're just kind of sharing. So does that answer most of
I think so. One thing I was wondering, did you say you needed to have separate bars, or you're allowed to share a bar?
Well, we're sharing a bar. We're just
okay. So you are allowed to share a bar. All right.
Yeah.
The other thing I was considering was if you're sharing a chiller. I mean, I understand the crossflow filter because it's a big expensive piece of equipment, but the run time's very short on it. But chillers, the running costs on a chiller. How are you negotiating sharing the running costs on the chiller? Is it just half, or are you going to use it a lot more than them, or vice versa, or how do you deal with such things?
And you're referring to the glycol chiller?
That's the one, yeah.
We're right now planning to split it half and half, and then if over time it looks like somebody's really using up a bit more than the other, we may adjust from there. But right now it's right down the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're doing a little bit of a unique arrangement where we're anything that is like a build out cost or upfront investment, we're just kind of splitting based on how long we think we'll both be sharing the space. I don't need to get into that, but it's been fun trying to figure out how to get two brands making two different types of craft beverage into one space. But we're getting close, so I'm excited.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. So onto your production. You're having meads on tap, I take it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. How many meads are you planning to have on tap at any point in time, and how many of those are going to be core meads, and how many of them are going to be limited editions?
We're planning to launch with 6, and 2 of the 6 will be made with orange blossom, and then the other 4 will be made with western buckwheat honey. And then from there, we'll just start playing with batches and messing around. I'm sure I can't go too long without trying to, make some crazy new recipes. So it'll probably happen
experimental
soon,
lab. Remember that word. Those 2 were experimental lab. Billy, you're in the conference, so you'll hear the experimental lab part.
Everyone needs a laboratory.
Yeah. There's going to be the how to create your own evil scientist mead lab, in the conference. So yeah, anybody who's not going, that alone is worth.
Yeah, and we I want to do a wine club, like a traditional wine club or mead club, but I want to turn it into our R&D department. So kind of make it where it's basically like a mead club. You sign up and you get special release meads, but also make it where people that sign up as part of the R&D department get to come in certain days and test all those batches and actually provide feedback and have input and kind of
Fun.
be